saying the speech was necessary since Congress must act to avoid a government shutdown. He says no consideration was given to rescheduling it. John Heilman.
I think it's kind of fair in the sense that, we just around the table here, we're saying that if you can imagine if the similar thing had happened under George W. Bush, that a lot of people would be outraged that he did not stop and just focus specifically on the tragedy that was happening yesterday. There's so much with the president right now. If you think about this, you can't help but think that part of his reaction to this still goes back to his frustration over an inability to get anything done and the resistance that he felt that he encountered when he tried to get something done on gun control after Newtown. And that part of, the culture is increasingly, sadly, inured to these things. And some of his frustration, if you were I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and I don't play one on TV, but some of his frustration at the Republican Party, which is so pervasive now that you almost hear in his lashing out at Republicans on the fiscal stuff here a kind of transference that he's still incredibly frustrated with Republicans over.
But on the day while people were hiding, while people were bleeding, while people were dying, while the nation was locked in on this, he's talking about harsh partisanship. And Republicans wanting to hurt people. Mike, really? Nobody ever considered that? If you believe Jay Carney?
Never came under consideration.
It's unbelievable.
I'm not sure we really believe Jay Carney about that, do we?
It's unbelievable.
I mean, I think to say that it had been under consideration would simply open the door. My guess is that may not have been entirely true.
Well, others in Congress were
I just can't imagine
to this.
if any other president did this. The ramifications. George W.? George W.? Can you imagine what certain people at...
Yeah, Joe. Yeah. They'd be burning him in effigy. They would have been calling for his immediate impeachment.
Everybody on MSNBC would have been on the man like white on rice.
But did you hear he's obviously, suffering a lot of frustration at not being able to get, some sensible gun control passed through a very difficult House of Representatives and a most harsh Republican opposition to virtually everything that he's tried to put forth for the betterment of the nation and always for the greater good, because he is and shall be our Lord and Savior, Barack Obama.
Yeah, buddy. See, I didn't think we were just entirely off base. It's really odd.
I'm not sure that I really believe Jay Carney, when he says it was never in consideration. I don't want to really believe Jay Carney.
Nobody that's actually, with a pulse really believes anything Jay Carney says anyway, just out of reflex.
I would double-check him if I asked him what time it was.
I'm telling you, man. And so, but I'm sure Jay Carney meant it when he said it was entirely appropriate.
Well, let's see.
Two other quick things. You mentioned at the top about the shooting, and the president offered his thoughts and prayers, and he pushed back his statement to allow the D.C. mayor and the police chief talk about what they said was an active manhunt. There may be other shooters. They were not sure. They didn't have all the facts, etc.
I'm going to stop right there. Ed, yeah, he said the president pushed his remarks back so that the D.C. mayor and the police chief could come make their remarks. But unfortunately, he most certainly did not push his remarks back. He made sure to get them spit out in their entirety, which is why he's asking the question to begin with. Just had to point that out. Sorry.
Right.
Continue.
Why then did the president go ahead with what became a series of attacks on Republicans about the health care law, about the debt ceiling fight, etc.? Tonally, did it not seem a little bit off in the middle of this manhunt, people being informed about lives lost, to move forward with an attack on the other side?
Well, Ed, I think he put a top on. He addressed at the top of his speech about the 5-year anniversary and the need to make sure that we as a nation do not make mistakes. We as Washington do not make mistakes, and reverse the progress that we've achieved. And I think that's an important thing for the president to talk about. It's an important thing for Congress to talk about and act on. And it's entirely appropriate today for the president to talk about that. We face, as the president noted, some looming deadlines. Congress needs to act. It has some very clear top-line responsibilities. Fund the government. Pass bills that pay for the activities of the United States government. They insisted on a process whereby budgets were passed in the Senate and the House, and now Republicans have blocked the process of reconciliation. They insisted on a process where the president would put forward his proposals that included compromise on things like entitlements. The president has done that. We've yet to see a counter-offer many, many months later. So time is short. We need to address these challenges. It is also true that we have an unfolding situation here in Washington with regards to violent action and shootings, and it's entirely appropriate for the president to address that at the top of his remarks.
Yeah, he addressed that at the top of his remarks, Casey.
Yeah.
Right at the same time he was addressing the 5-year anniversary and how important it was that we remember this 5-year anniversary.
That Lehman tanked.
Gosh. Man,
I
almost feel bad that I didn't, mark that anniversary, at some point today myself. Like maybe should we have a moment of silence or something for the Lehman brothers? I mean,
well,
are we missing out? I mean, are we missing an opportunity at a chance to show true patriotism?
No.
Shouldn't we just go write the government a big fat check right now for everything we've got?
Maybe not.
No.
Maybe not this year.
So that was entirely appropriate. I mean,
on the 10-year anniversary, man, we'll get to that. But this was just a 5-year anniversary.
And people wonder why somebody at MSNBC would go, I don't know if I really believe Jay Carney, like that there is never any consideration. Yeah, look, you ain't got to be mealy-mouthed about it. I don't believe a word that comes out of Carney's mouth. And this right here just sort of cements it that it's not about truth. It's not about right and wrong.
It's not about the good of the country.
No.
This is about Obama's agenda.
It's not just Obama's agenda. It's really not. This is about the Democrat Party as a whole. I mean, look, they have no problem slinging the mud over there on the GOP and throwing, the blame for all of the country's woes squarely in the lap of those Republicans in the House of Representatives. They have no problem with that. So I have absolutely no problem taking just as broad a brush and saying this has nothing to do with Obama's agenda, because Obama knows he's a lame duck.
This is about
everybody else knows it is. This is about the Democrats' agenda. This is about the agenda of the DNC. Period.
I'll go with that.
Because if Obama is shown to be the failure that he really is, if his policies are proven to be as detrimental to the country as every conservative out there has been saying all along, then since this is a nation of fixing the blame and not the problem, guess where that blame is going to lie squarely? Right on the heads of the Democrats themselves. The very party that has been pushing this claptrap of crap for the past 4.5, 5 years. We still got 3 to go.
Man, you really wanted to get my stomach messed up now.
I'm sorry, but that's the way it is, dude. This has nothing to do with Obama's agenda. That's part of the reason that even the more mainstream press, even MSNBC, is starting to be more and more critical of the man. Like today, Richard sent me something today saying, he couldn't believe that some of the things that was coming out of MSNBC or even some of the other mainstream outlets themselves, they were blasting Obama for making the speech that he made, first of all. And that opened the door for plenty of other righteous criticisms that should have been made long ago. Like during Obama's speech,
you can't criticize the
during
prophet,
Obama's
man.
speech, he had to point out that Obamacare was democratically passed in both the House of Representatives and in the Senate. He conveniently forgot to throw in there that it was done under a supermajority of a Democrat-controlled House of Representatives and a supermajority in the Senate.
Well, he just left
where
that
there
little
was
part out. That escaped his mind, you know.
Zero Republican input at all, period. The unions, the AFL-CIO, Richard Trumka, see, I got it right this time. I didn't call him Donald Trumka. Richard Trumka himself is now saying, boy, was that stupid. What were we thinking? Even we're getting the shaft on this. Congress is having to intervene at the last moment here and try to get a break for some regular Americans. You know, those middle-class ones that the president and Joe Biden love to talk about. Those middle-class folks that are really screaming, hey, can we get a deferment for a year on this thing too? Tina was showing me an article the other day that said the cheapest Obamacare plan out there, the cheapest one, for a family of 5, that's mama, daddy, 3 kids, right? Mm-hmm. $26,000 a year.
See, I'm looking at
this. For health care insurance.
You know, just when it comes to Obamacare, I can't afford to self-insure under Obamacare, using any of their exchanges or anything that's available to me. And I can't afford that either.
That's $2,600 first offense.
I can't afford that either.
Well, let me ask you a question. How firm is your heterosexuality? Is that pretty much, in stone? Or are you able, because if you can't pay the fine and you can't pay for the insurance, then there's like a jail penalty here we're talking about. And, you're awful cute. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, that's it was my understanding. I was always told that there's no such thing as debtor's prison.
That was before Barack Obama hit office.
Yeah, see, so I'm sitting here looking.
There was also a writ of habeas corpus pre-Obama.
I mean, essentially, when it comes to paying for the insurance, with my personal finances right now, I can either have health insurance or I can eat. It's a difficult choice there.
Based on your income, you could literally pay every dime that you make towards health insurance, and you still wouldn't be able to afford it because it costs more just for you, a single man.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're just going to go by your day job there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Based upon that income, because they will not let you get more than 30 hours. They won't let you get 30 hours.
Exactly.
All right. You don't make enough to afford a single person's health care plan based on what you make in a year.
Right.
So there's no way that you could even say it's eat or pay for health care insurance.
Well, no, not when the government says you have to pay.
Yeah.
At the point of a gun.
Yeah, there's no choice there. It's you will pay for the health care insurance.
And yet again,
and then you're going to need the health care insurance. The good part is that since you're paying for the health care insurance, see, while you're starving to death, you'll get sick.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll have to go to the hospital.
And they'll feed me there.
They'll feed you there. And then when you get out of the hospital, of course, you won't have a job anymore.
No, and I'll be real hungry.
Then you will. But the good news is, then you can go on welfare, and you'll get
Medicare. Yeah.
See, so it's a win-win there, dude.